Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen from YouTube. Welcome to my channel. Today we are gonna talk about creating JavaScript objects. Yay! So what is an object in JavaScript? JavaScript object is a object that contains a key value pairs and separated by the comma. So let's say I have a computer object, right? This is the variable, and assign an object to it. The way you assign an object is that you have an open curly bracket, and then you list all the property inside, and then close with the close curly bracket. Too simple, right? And then the property is we call the key value pair, right? So we have the first key, say it's a CPU of my computer, and then the colon 4. So we have first key is going to be CPU, and the value is going to be a number 4, right? And then separate by a comma, the next line we have here is PC. I say it's false because it's not a PC. And the brand is Apple. Okay, see this, we have my computer object. It has 3 properties, right? The first property is CPU, and is assigned the value 4 to the CPU. And then the second key or property, you can say, is a PC. It could, and then it turns out to be a false. It could be a Boolean value, right, in the second line. And then on the third key property that we have brand, and then I pass in Apple, right? This is all hard coded. So when I console log my computer, what do you think is gonna happen? All right, boom, we have an object, the JavaScript object. We have all the properties inside, right? On top of these static, right, numbers, booleans, and strings, you can also have a function like such. Let's see, print brand, right? We can also have a function. You can say it's a function. Console log.out this type brand. Okay. Now, if we look at the object itself, we have all the properties here, including print brand is also a property, right? Print brand is a property, and then returning a function right here. In our object, we can also, let's comment out this line right here. We can also print out we can call the function inside the object. Right? My computer dot print brand, and that's how you access a property or a function, right? In the JavaScript object. So right here, it says Apple, right? It prints Apple. It console log Apple, right? This dot brand. So this keyword refer to the object itself. So just keep that in mind, okay? So right now we know what an object is in JavaScript. Let's look at another example. Let's say we have a variable called ship, and we assign an object to it. Okay, so this ship has a property name, and then we assign ship to it. Okay, and then we have a function that make a sound, right? Ship makes sounds, right? Sure, it does. And then we console log out this dot name, right? This refers to the name here, and say this dot name goes beep beep. So you can beep beep like a sheep, right? And then we can access the function as such, right? We have the object sheep, and then access the make sound function, right? And then we can run the file here, and it goes sheep goes beep beep. Okay. Anyways, what I'm gonna show you here that you can. So this is the function, right? You can also make a function as a shorthanded function. Let me make an example right here. So let's say we have another function for this object that says make a short sound. Okay, and then we don't have to use the colon for it. We just use the function, and then just go this. Okay, so it's console.log. We'll say this name goes beep. Okay, so this function pretty much is say instead of going beep beep, we just go beep. Oop, beep. Okay, so let's say we call the function make short sound, boom, and we run it in the console. It says ship goes beep on the second line here. Okay, I just want to go beep beep like a sheep. So this is a shorthand version of the function writing inside an object. Okay, you don't have to do the semicolon and function and whatnot. You just simply make a function, a name function, right? So the name function is let short little sound. Since ES6 came out, we have an arrow function, but we don't in our situation inside this object we kind of don't want to use arrow function because arrow function does not have this keyword inside themselves. Okay, what do I mean by that? Right? What the heck, right? So when you're using an arrow function, this will refer to the parent function, this. But in here, we only have an object, right? So let's say we have another function. We say we're going to make another sound, right? We're going to set it equal to an arrow function like this. And we just say console.log, oops, this name goes moo. Oh, forgot the. Oh, what the heck? There you go. All right. Now see if we can run this one. It says undefined, goes moo, all right? Because inside the arrow function, this refer to something else, right? And it should refer to these parent functions, this. But in our case, we only have an object. So just be careful when you're creating an object like this, you don't use an arrow function. You can use the traditional way of, making a function and assign it to a property, or use a shorthand version of this. So this two-way is the recommended version. Capiche? Okay, next topic. So now we know how to create objects in JavaScript, right? We'll just assign the key value pair inside the curly bracket and assign it to the variable here, okay? But you can also create JavaScript object with a object constructor. So what an object constructor do is setting up the blueprint of the object's common properties, right? You can think of it as a class from other programming languages. So what I mean by that? So let's say we have a constructor for all the animals that's out there. So let's say we have animal equal to a function. Oh yeah, object constructors are also functions. Function. And then inside our functions parameter, we'll pass in those common properties it will have. Let's say we have legs for animal, right? And then I will say, is that mammal? Mammal? And then does the animal have tail? Right? So these are the common properties that one animal would have. And then in here we can say this dot legs equal to legs. And this dot mammal equal to mammal. This dot tail equal to tail. Okay, so what am I doing here? What am I doing? So we in this constructor, right? This animal is now a constructor function for all the objects that has the common properties are here. And then we say all the animal will have a leg property, right? And then we will set to whatever legs you pass in the function or the constructor, right? And then we all the animal is it has a property that says mammal, and it checks is a mammal or true or false, and you can pass in when you create the object. We'll get there. We'll get there to the steps that we create an object. Okay, so tail same thing. So we in the animal class we have a tail. And then we can assign tail value to this. Okay, so let's say we have a sheep, right? Let's not do it here. Now, animal is our what you might call it the constructor right now. It has all the blueprints, right? The blueprint has like the common properties of animal. So let me see. So I'm gonna create a sheep, right? So sheep is an object, okay? But a sheep is it should have all the properties from animal. So I'm gonna create an object called sheep that takes all the properties from animal. So it's pretty much like I'm gonna say this new animal, and then we pass in whatever the constructor parameters inside here. So the sheep has 4 legs. It's a mammal. Yes. Does it have a tail? Does it have a tail? Sure. Okay. Now we're gonna console log sheep. Okay. When you console log sheep, it says that it's an animal constructor. Well, in the console, this one it says whatever you use the constructor to construct with, right? We use the animal constructor, and then the object is here. So we have 4 legs. Is mammal? Yes. It has tail. True. Awesome. So what we have here, we're creating an object using the object constructor. You can see this is really similar to a class, right? So animal is kind of like a class in other programming languages. So a sheep is an instance of this class, animal class, right? And we can create different instance of this animal class. Let's say we have a chicken, right? Is equal to new animal. Now chicken has 2 legs. Is a mammal? No, right? False. And then does it have a tail? Sure, it has tail. Kind of a short tail. We call it a cocktail, whatever. Okay, so right now we have 2 objects. One is sheep, and one is chicken. Now you see that the syntax for creating the 2 objects is one line, right? So remember how we create an object? We're just just assigning an curly brace object into a variable. It takes like 4 or 5 lines, so you have to pretty much repeat all this in all of the variable here. But using object constructors, you can just create an instance of the blueprint animal, and then you can just pass in the value here, and then you create an object, right? So we console log out the chicken. Now what we have, right? We have 2 animal instances, right? Let's clear this up. We have 2 animal instances. One is the sheep, and then the one is also animal instance. We have a chicken with 2 legs, is not a mammal, and has tail, right? So creating object with object constructor is very useful in JavaScript programming. So after we learn how to create object with our animal constructor, well, object constructor with animal, right? We can also assign methods into our property inside our animal constructor. Let's say we have describe legs is equal to a function and then you console log dot this animal has legs, right? So this is console log. Oh, sorry, this dot legs, right? So what this is doing is that we are declaring a property as whenever we are assigning a method into it, a function into it, right? So this function, describe legs, should be available to all these objects out here. Okay, let's say we say ship dot describe legs, and you call the function by putting the parentheses up after that. Let's see what we have. We say this animal has 4 legs, right? This is for sheep. So what if you say chicken? This animal has 2 legs because chicken has 2 legs when you pass it in. Okay? So that's how you define a method inside the constructor. So the method here, and right now we're using the kind of the traditional function way of doing things. We have this, a kind of referring to this, right? And then this is available to the is pointing to the object, right? The object is whatever we define in here. So when you call the function using a new keyword, you're creating an object, and this will will refer to this object. So this in here will be available. In my previous lessons, we also talked about the arrow functions in objects, right? So the arrow function, can we use the arrow function in our object constructor? The answer is yes, right? So remember, the arrow function, this, is always referring to the outer functions this, right? So the outer function this is whatever this is. That is a constructor itself. So it's available inside our arrow function. So in this here, we can also use an arrow function, right? So you can just change this to this, and it should still work. Oh, sorry. It should still work. Animal has 2 legs, right? So this keyword is pointing to the outer function, which is our constructor function. So the answer is yes, you can use big fat arrow functions inside the constructor. So now if you look at the constructor itself, right now we have like 4 properties, and one of them is being a method, right? It's a function. So every time we create an instance of using the object constructor, we'll also create these 4 properties right here, which each property takes some kind of memory, right? In the ideal world, we kind of don't want to have the method defined inside our constructor because it will take memory, and not every object we might call a function, so we don't need it to be inside our new object. But how do I make this property disappear on our object, but it's also readily available when I need it, right? So the constructor has a thing called prototype. What a prototype does is kind of like holding all the inherited prototype or the features from the parent object. Okay? So the way we define a prototype is say that animal, so animal is our constructor. We'll say prototype, right? And then our function describe legs. Okay? Then it's equal to our function. Oops. Console dot these many legs. Okay. Okay. So by doing so, describe legs is a prototype of animal. So all the animal instances like sheep and chicken would have access to this function. Let's see, we still run the chicken.describe legs. Let's see if it runs, okay? Yes, this many legs is 2, okay? So run the function regardless. So what's the difference, right? So the difference is that when you have, let's back up a little bit. Let's back up to have the function here, okay? So if the function lives inside the constructor, and we console log sheep, right? What we're gonna get? Right, we're gonna get leg is equal to 4, mammal equal to true, tail equal to true, and describe legs function as a property inside here. So this takes memory right here. Imagine you have like thousands of lines, right? So, and you're probably not gonna call this function every time you declare the object. So by using prototype, we can get rid of the describe leg function inside our property, inside the object. Okay, let's go forward again. Oh, okay. Okay. Right. So just boom. Animal.prototype.describe legs function console.log this many legs. Okay. So now we define the again the function in the prototype chain. Right, and then we're gonna say console the sheep object. Now the sheep object now is this. It only has legs, mammal, and tail. Right? So the described legs, let me see, described legs. Oh, there we go. Described leg is not inside our sheep property, but described leg is a method that sheep can use because it's under the animal's prototype chain. So it can do sheep dot describe. Oh, no, shouldn't do it here, but do it here. Sheep dot describe legs. Right now, see? So the function is available, but not taking memory. Okay, so if we console log sheep right here, right? We only see the three properties here, and we don't see the described legs in the prototype because it's not every animal needs to call this method, right? So we save memory by doing so. Now, and let's look at another little function, say has own property. Has own property is called after the object, and then pass in the property name that you want to check. So in our console, we're checking do we have a mammal property in sheep, and the answer is true, right? So has own property checks all the properties in the object, and if we check describe legs as a property that we look for, it should return false because describe legs is not a property of sheep. It's in the prototype. Let's look at another keyword that can help you to understand this as well. So let's say we have is mammal in sheep, right? So the in keyword checks for all the properties and the prototype chain for anything is in there, okay? So, misspell mammal. So here, we should see true because mammal is a property in in the ship object, right? But can we check also for describe legs? It should also return true. Like I said, the in keyword checks for all the prototype and the properties, right? So both properties and prototypes. So the in keyword is pretty useful to check if anything methods that's in the prototype or even in the properties. Alrighty, boys and girls, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have some other JavaScript tutorial as well, so you can check them out. Please subscribe to our channel to see more contents like this. Thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you guys very soon. Okay, bye-bye.